Hello and welcome to the 14th edition of Half Hour, a podcast starring me, John Paulo Giudice, as your host. In today's episode, I will discuss Iran with my friend Arian Fahimi. Thank you for coming on the show, man. I appreciate it. Did I pronounce your last name correctly?
Perfectly.
Okay. So I guess to begin with, just tell us a little about yourself. We go to the same college, obviously. We're both students at UNIT, but take it away.
Quick background on me. I'm from Iran, and I have lived in Iran for like 13 years. And after that, I lived 3 years in Switzerland, and I moved here for another 3 years, and this is my 4th year and my first year of uni, my freshman. So, yeah.
So you lived in Switzerland, you said?
Yes.
Well, how old were you?
I was about I think I moved when I was 14. But first I started going from summer camp, and then I went to school there, we're in boarding school.
Mm-hmm.
It was also international school, so I'm like used to this community, and it's really good.
So you did high school there, kind of like from like 14 to 17, 18?
I first went from 8th grade to 10th in Switzerland, and from...
Oh, so you skipped a grade, like...
Did I?
I don't know, I mean 8, 9, 10?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, from 8th grade to 10th grade, I was in
okay. I was like, wait a minute.
I'm not that smart.
Yeah.
And then after that, I moved here, and I did from year 11 to 13. And it was surprising for me.
In Prague?
Yeah, in Prague. It's
Okay.
like 13 years instead of 12, because it's usually 12. I don't know.
Yeah, it's 12 in the US. Well, we have K through 12. We have kindergarten and
Yeah.
then 1 through 12.
Mm-hmm.
But it's always structured a little differently. Like I remember there was a school in the US that I think my cousins went to, and they did 5th grade in middle school, whereas I did it in elementary school, and then I did 6, 7, 8 in middle school, and the rest in high school. What did you think of Switzerland?
It was like the first change for me, you know. Like I went from a really different culture to a very it was really like a big change to me, you know.
And you moved from Iran to Switzerland.
Yes, straight.
Were you from Tehran?
Yeah, it's capital city.
Yeah.
Probably.
It's near the Caspian, right?
Yeah, you could say, because it's at the top. So. Yeah.
I know that Iran's a very mountainous country.
Yeah.
Excuse my pronunciation, by the way. It's very heavily American. We say Iran a lot, like Iraq, Iran, like very strong. But maybe it's just my background. I don't know.
It's okay.
But Iran's a very mountainous country. But you know you look at Tehran, and then you have there's a mountain range north of it, and then on the Caspian it's almost like a forest. Isn't it very green there?
Oh yeah. It's like at the top there, like it's our greenest. It's different climate instead of best climate we say, because people usually go for their holidays. Mostly there it's common thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
It is.
I definitely want to visit someday. I want to see some of the old structures there.
Mm-hmm.
Are there I know in Iraq they have these things called ziggurats, the very old pyramids that they used to construct in Mesopotamia. I don't know if they have them in Iran.
I don't think they do. I've never heard of them. But you said you want to visit Iran. I would suggest that if you want to do that after this regime changes, because obviously...
Getting into the meat of the discussion now. Yeah, I'm not necessarily a fan of the regime, but what are you gonna do? You know, it's just it's the way it is right now. I hope things change though, genuinely. So I know in the news recently there was what was her name?
Mahsa
Mahsa.
Amini. Yeah.
How do you spell that? Is it M-A-S-H-I?
M-A-H-S-I. No, sorry. M-A-H-S-A. Then Amini.
Masa. Okay.
Yeah. And then Amini, A-M-I-N-I. And it's trending everywhere because should I tell a story or tell what you heard?
I want to give my understanding, because I know he knows a lot more than I do. He's been very active with the whole movement, but from what I know, that she wasn't wearing, what is it, it's not
hijab.
It is a hijab.
It's like a scarf. It's like a scarf that you have to wear. People for hijab is like defined differently for others. Like some wear like we call it chador, you know, like the big
Like the whole body.
their
thing?
whole body thing. Yeah, there is it that can count as hijab or just a scarf.
I was gonna say that I know that there's different like head garbs that
Yeah.
people wear, but
Exactly.
I wasn't sure like which one it was. Like maybe Iran is a different one than Iraq or Saudi Arabia or like Egypt or whatever. I
It's
don't
like
know.
hijab is hijab. As long as like you have to cover your hair, and like, that's what hijab is for. And like all of these things that cover your hair, all of them are hijab. Like no time.
So she was caught not wearing it, or
Well, as we know, they said that she was wearing it, but like a bit of her hair was out. Like you know.
just a little bit.
Like-
they
like a-
decided that was grounds to
Yeah.
to beat her to death.
Exactly.
So wait, you're telling me that she had a little bit of hair out,
Yeah.
and there was a confrontation between her and what is it, the moral police?
Omar, immorality. Wait.
Martyr police?
No, immorality police. Yeah, immorality.
Immorality police.
Yes.
Okay. Wow, they have a whole department for that.
Yeah, like it's crazy. Like when I like tell to my non-Iranian friends and about this kind of police, you know what their job is? Should I explain?
Yeah, sure.
Basically, these polices are like they don't have life, so they just go around the city, and they just look for people who are not wearing hijab. You know, guy and a male and a female our age can't usually hang out. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's they gotta when the emergency police come to them, they ask them like, what is your relation? You know, they can do all that, and they can take you in if they think.
They think there's something up.
Yeah, exactly.
To me, it just sounds so strange, like that there's a police force dedicated to enforcing. Is it Sharia law? Is that the law?
Yeah,
there?
that's the one.
I know that Iran's Shia and well, right. There's a whole different thing, right? Because you have Sunni Shia, and then you have some other minor, like smaller Islamic groups. Maybe not in Iran, but like in general. But then you have Sharia law, which is like the law of the land that is derived from Islam.
I don't know things about that. I only know Sunni and Shia.
Okay. What? So like Iran uses that though. Like they're Shia, obviously.
Yeah. Like human people, or like the government is forcing their religion on people. I don't think many like it's if you like I'm saying this from experience of like my friends, like my family, and like people I know in Iran. And if I had to like say like out of 10, like how many of them are actually like Muslim, I would say like 3 out of 10 are like Muslim, or like 4 out of 10.
Okay, so it's like not atheism, but like
No.
what's the word for it? Like you don't know what you believe, kind of.
Yeah, very agnostic. I don't know.
Yeah, that's exactly the word.
Alright.
Agnostic, yeah.
It's like they make people hate Islam, like in Iran. Like when I was in Iran, I remember like I was Muslim, and like a year or two when I was in Switzerland, I have a decision. You know, I felt like I was brainwashed. I'm not saying like being Muslim is a bad thing, but like surely in Iran it's like forced on you. You know.
Yeah.
It's like, do you feel guilty not being a Muslim? And you see people around you are like following the rules of the book, and you're not doing it. What's wrong with you? You know?
Yeah, it's really unfortunate that like the country is just taking this direction. I mean, the Shah was overthrown in '79, and you had the theocracy come in after that. But the Shah was a Western-backed leader, so I feel like there was some illegitimacy there. Like the people may have felt like, you know, this guy is not looking out for our best interest. I know that there was a lot of oil politics going on with the British and the Americans and the Soviets as well. So it is crazy to like kind of like think about it and like try to understand like the different cultures that are there. I mean, Iran's a pretty multi-ethnic state too, right? Like it's not just Persians. Like there's like a bunch of different groups. Have you ever been to other parts of the country?
Well, few cities, not like a lot. Like two other cities than Tehran. I don't know like much about like I wish I knew more. If I had more time in Iran, I would definitely visit more places. Now that I miss it a lot, I haven't been there for 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah.
What other cities have you visited?
I visited few of the famous cities like Isfahan, Mashhad, and also Shiraz.
Okay.
That's where my dad is from, Shiraz.
So, from what I understand, I know Bandar Abbas is near
Yeah.
the ocean, the
Yeah.
Persian Gulf. Isfahan, is that in the east?
Isfahan
Or
is
west?
like a bit in the middle, I think. No,
I'm trying to like picture the geography. I'm usually good with like European, American, even some
Yeah.
Asian geography, but sometimes with other countries I get a little
Yeah.
stumped.
You already know a lot about like our cities. I'm
Yeah,
surprised.
I try. I know Tabriz.
Tabriz,
Tabriz.
They speak like they're like exactly. You talk about ethnicity. We have like Turks, you have Arabs, you have I don't know Baluch. We say. Yeah.
That's near Pakistan.
Yeah, you have so many of them. Like, and if I have to list them, it's gonna take up the whole.
Yeah. I know that there's some Azeris in the country too.
Yeah.
Azerbaijanis.
Yeah.
I know it's Azeri, but I sometimes I forget what the terms are.
Mm.
What do you feel like is a very important like aspect of Iranian culture?
Like, can you elaborate?
I guess I'm leading you to like music or like you know
Yeah.
something like that, or food
Okay.
or traditions. Do Persians often share traditions with the other groups in the country, or is it more separated?
Well, okay. About culture, like what you're famous for culturally?
Yeah, sure.
I'd say,
Like,
like
is there any food you really like? Like
yeah, like Iranian kebab is like different from Turkish kebab, and that's my favorite. You know, Iranian
it's
kebab.
better, you think?
I think so. And like we have our food like around, they're like really underrated. I say
Mm-hmm.
because like there's barely like Iranian restaurants like in some cities, but like in like US and like Germany and countries where there's like a lot of Iranians, there's like a lot of very good Iranian restaurants, which is just
I'm just gonna hit the light so the lighting gets a little better.
yeah, and that's all the food. I have like really famous Persian poems. We like they are like really old and we still talk about them. They are heritage, you say?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they are like we care about them a lot. Yeah, that's about our culture and Iranian music, let's say.
Yeah, I remember we were talking like a few days ago, but like you were telling me a bit about the music. Like what do you think? Like you were saying that there's a huge community of people that are outside the country making music.
Well, this might sound like this. No, this is gonna sound crazy to everyone who's like hearing this.
Mm-hmm.
Rap is basically like illegal in Iran, right? So some people had to like leave the country in order to like rap outside the country, or they're like underground people rapping.
Mm-hmm.
And if you wanna like become a legal rapper, like it takes you a lot. Like some people try to like ask for permission, they never got it, and
So you have to ask the government, essentially.
yeah, exactly. And like if they allow you, you can. But there are like barely any of them, and no one knows any of them because like they're bad rappers if there's any. And there is like I know so many like rappers with like big story behind them. Like one of them is a doctor, like and he decided to also rap at the same time. One of them has his whole body like tattooed. It's crazy.
And he's in Iran still.
No, he's in Turkey now. He's in Istanbul, I think. Yeah, he's in Istanbul. He has like his whole body like color tattooed. You know, like if you say like tattooed, like face everywhere in the face, everywhere.
So it seems like the government in the country is obsessed with like these rules to try and like navigate the society, like to try and like be like, okay, like this is what society should do.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it almost seems reminiscent of how some people in the U.S. especially, but in the West generally, have these like opinions that they are unwilling to hear like someone else's perspective.
Yeah.
Like for example, like maybe someone in Iran wants to listen to rap music, but they can't because the government is saying that it's like immoral or not correct.
Yeah.
And it just reminds me of how I've met some people that are very like this is the right way, you know, and you can't change my mind otherwise, and I'm not gonna listen to you, and I'm not even gonna get in the mindset of like being like, okay, like maybe there's a point to this, you know, maybe we should let people have some freedom of expression and thought, you know. But of course in Iran it's a much darker situation, like the government is really clamping down.
Exactly. And before I forget, I have to mention this, like these things that are like bad for us, that like they're how do you say, are like forbidding it for us, you know, if that's the right word. They are, for example, it's hard for me to believe that Iranian politicians are even Iranian, because their families are not even in Iran. They're like in US or in Canada, other countries of the world, and they are not even following their own rules. Like they took out hijab, and their daughters are not even wearing hijab, you know, and that's what like everyone is mad about. It's like corrupted government. They stole like a lot of money and everything.
Yeah, that's not right. I can picture a government that's very like driven by molding society in a direction to be very like corrupt. Like for example, when you were telling me about how you need to ask the government to be a rapper, I can just picture like massive bureaucracies that, you know, they just stamp this stuff, but maybe they don't get to it because they're being paid the same wage or whatever, and they don't really care. I know that bureaucracies in the US are pretty stagnant sometimes. Like people know that they're going to get paid regardless, and they just will do as little work as possible. So there's that, obviously. But is there certain rap that's like really bad, like that like talks about the regime, or like?
Oh, okay. Those are like really dangerous, because like it's like you call them like politic raps. Like I don't know, like in Persian state, like rapping about politics. And basically people who do that, they're like in a blacklist of coming back to country. Like if they try to like come back to country, like that's.
They won't let them in, or they will let them in.
Yeah, exactly. And there has been like, at least what I heard, that like in some occasions they have even chased them outside the country to like, you know, cause them problems. And
like they might send people.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Like even for someone like me who is like this much far away from the country, it's still dangerous for me to talk about the regime in a bad way, but I'm doing it because I feel like the change is definitely happening. Like I believe it with everything, you know. I'm certainly believing this is the end. Like the regime is changing this time from what's happening in Iran now.
I hope so. I mean, there's massive protests going on in the country.
Yeah,
right?
and outside the country, there has been like protests more than 150 cities around the world. Like some countries you don't even imagine, like in Japan, South Korea, Brazil. Like who would have thought Iranians are there, you know?
I gotta say, I remember we were at school just talking in the hallway, and people were talking about whatever. But you came up to me and you were showing me all the pictures of like the different protest locations. Like it's nice that you're so like passionate about something. You know, like I feel that's very commendable.
Well, I feel that's like a duty to me. You know, that's like a least I can do for the people who are in the streets. And you know, it's like if I just sit at home and put on my story, what am I doing?
What are you doing?
Exactly. Like if you want to do something, you have to go pursue it yourself. You know, you have to put at least a bit of effort. That's like I don't think that I'm barely doing anything from people in the streets. And there's this cool, good quote from this rapper who's allowed in Iran. I always said it's full too. He says, "As far as I can remember, people wanted to go to heaven. No one wanted to actually build heaven, you know." And that's what I think he's correct, you know.
That's a very, very powerful statement.
Yeah.
You know, because it's clear to me, maybe it's clear to you too, that whatever's happening in the society there is just not working. Like I don't know, I really cannot picture like an immorality police. Like I can't. Like it sounds. Have you read the book 1984?
No, I don't read.
Dude, you gotta read this book. Like I don't read much either, but this book is something you have to read. It is a phenomenal book. It's about how basically in an alternate 1984 by George Orwell, a very famous author. It's about like you have like these different basically conglomerates of countries. You have like Eurasia, you have Oceania, which is like parts of Europe and like America and like Canada and like Australia, and then you have like East Asia, and they're all fighting each other all the time and I think they were explaining like it's like for a narrative, like they want to like keep people in control by doing the us versus them.
Yeah, exactly.
But they have like these police that are very Orwellian, what they say, like they go in and they do exactly what these police are doing in Iran.
It's really messed up, you know, like if you're explaining to any non-Iranian, like this is crazy, you know, like can you imagine like if most of these people were back in like if you're born in Iran, could you imagine yourself like what you're doing right now is like illegal, you know, like you're like walking around without hijab, like, and that would be crazy to me, you know. I think like guys can't walk around with shorts. That's like so messed up.
They can't wear shorts?
Nah.
Even in the summertime, really?
I think so, yeah.
What if they want to go swimming? Do they?
Like you know we have different swimming pools like for men and for women. Like
no way.
Exactly, man.
Different swimming pools.
Exactly. Like okay, same one but different times. You have to go at different times. You can't go at the same one.
Wait, so if there's like, you know, at UNIP you have like a pass, you can go to the Padoli pool.
Yeah.
There's like, they have the men and women's changing rooms, obviously, but people can go swim in the same pool. Yeah. But like, you're saying that if there's two pools next to each other even, and one's for women and one's for men, they can't swim at the same time?
No, because the man can see the woman and the woman can see the man. That's their point. That's so messed up.
So it's almost like an obsession with like controlling how interactions between the genders work.
Exactly, because like even you have a different school for men and women, you know, like and I think that's really messed up because that's gonna destroy their social
fabric.
Yeah, like they can't even like they're like shy to communicate to each other, you know. That destroys the whole, you know.
Yeah. To me, it's just like I come from. I would like to think a free society in the U.S. I think we've kind of lost our way a little bit. I think we're losing that a little bit, and I hope that it changes someday. But I was always able to just do and say whatever. And in America, there is an obsession with freedom a little bit. Like it's kind of like you don't tell me what to do. I know better. I think that attitude can be a little negative sometimes. Like if someone's like I know better the whole time. It's what I was talking about earlier. But I do like in America how we have this like we don't trust the government type of vibe. You know, like the government does not have your best interest in mind usually.
And I'm really happy that you guys can like protest on the streets without like being arrested or like with freely you can protest, and that's really nice of Iran, you know. And sorry.
No.
I feel like that's my personal opinion, you know. People are being like a bit. This is like a bit what's happening in America. Like usually happens like a bit familiar to me because like they're being a bit greedy. You know, they're taking their freedom to their advantage.
Yeah.
And I think that's what happened in Iran and when the revolution happened. You know, because back in '70s, like Iran was like the top destination to visit. You know, it was like really good. Like it was.
It's a beautiful country.
Exactly.
Really.
It was a place that people want to go for their holidays. They would like put their money together to just go and visit Iran, you know, and this thing messed them up.
I would say you guys really closed yourself off from the world. I would say that I think there was I watched another podcast with Jordan Peterson, and he was talking about, you know, there's a book about Hitler's dinner conversations.
Oh.
And you know, awful character that guy, but what was interesting is that a lot of what he would speak of is like from a disgust feeling, like you'd be disgusted by the world and by all the different things that were coming in from the U.S. or in Europe or like the different ethnic groups. It was a disgusting thing. Like he saw it as disgusting. And I keep repeating myself there, but I feel like Iran had a very similar moment in '79 when the theocracy came in. It was like a conservative, traditional backlash, like we're disgusted by what the world is up to lately. Probably by the West too, I mean, at that time. But I think another thing I was going to say is like a good strength of the U.S. is that we're a very multi-ethnic state, and it's so like Iran's also a multi-ethnic state, but in a very different way.
Exactly.
And what I mean is like I've seen like a map, like I kind of remember what it looks like. Like Persians are very much in the middle of the country, and then on the west and east you have like Azeris up in the northwest, you have, what was it, Balak?
Baluch, and we have Kurds, we have Turks, we have more.
Yeah. Even some Arabs in
Yeah, Arabs,
Kyrgyzstan,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, so it's like you have these groups of people that are localized in parts of the countries, whereas in the U.S. it's like this, like everyone's
Yeah, they're everywhere, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, with some exceptions. I mean, you have some parts of the country that are very sparse, and it's just full of the original British or German settlers who moved out west. But we're very liberal country in the way that, like, you could theoretically move to one of these states and not have a problem if you just, treat people with respect, and they'll most likely treat you with respect. I mean, we have some issues with the racism there, but I do like to think we're a forward-thinking country. But going back to my point, I was going to say, if you have a group of Iranian people that want to protest about what's happening there, they will go to like the cities, like you were showing me, like in New York and Boston and Philadelphia, all these cities, they can protest, and it acts as like an external lever. Like these protests in the U.S. might have an effect in Iran by changing the mindset a little bit.
Exactly.
But to me, it's just sad how the state is endorsing this kind of like control over people's lives. Like it's almost like an obsession with guiding society, and I feel like that always leads countries to their doom. Like, because you have to imagine, right, the people who are enforcing these laws, how old are they? They're older people, they come from an older generation, and they have these beliefs that this is the right way, and blah, 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 blah. And yeah, I don't know, it's just sad. Like, I hope things change.
Thank you, man. I just know it feels. Like, I'm like very confident about it, but I know it feels. Otherwise, like, I would be pretty scared to go to these protests. But this time, I'm sure it is the end, because like, everyone has spoke up. Everyone, like, in the country, like, you can't, like, how's the country gonna work if your person, like, who plays sports is your singer? Anyone, like, you think in the society plays a role, right? You can't arrest and, like, every single one of them. How's the economy gonna work?
Yeah, like, if no one's working, the country
exactly, it's gonna collapse. And this time, they can't do anything. It is the end. And I feel two things that I gotta say is that I remember once my friend told me, why do you go to protest like outside Iran? It does nothing for Iran.
I think I was in the room actually when someone said that.
Yeah, and then my answer to that is that you see now Canada and US and even Czech Republic and 6 other European countries have said that they're gonna kick out the Iranian politicians outside the country and their families. They are forcing sanctions on them now. I think yesterday Joe Biden spoke about it, and it's actually having impact. And finally, the world is hearing us, because they don't usually like show our things on the news,
Yeah.
And the second thing I was gonna say is that it's pretty sad that I feel that people don't usually like take actions, or like they don't care as long as it affects them. Like I'm talking about like everyone, like every people, They, for example, let's say Ukraine. Some people like were afraid because it's gonna, after Ukraine, it's gonna come to the rest of the European countries. It's gonna affect them, and they don't know that if the regime doesn't change, it can affect them too.
Yeah, of course.
Like a lot. Like this is the same country that was about to make the Third World War like 2 years ago, 2 years ago. Do you remember?
Well, with the Soleimani.
Exactly.
Yeah, Trump took him out.
Yeah.
The drone strike.
Well, world should be worried about that, because like they are trying to have a nuclear deal, And the second thing is that I know like Europe is gonna go to a crisis of in the winter
for the gas and
for
energy.
Gas,
yeah.
Iran can be definitely a really good help, but now they're on sanctions. So if the regime goes out, the sanctions are gone, and Iran can give gas, and this crisis is gonna stop. And so people should seriously take action if they want it. We have the cheapest gas in the world. Did you know that?
I didn't know.
Really cheap.
I know you guys have a lot.
We have a lot, and it's really cheap. Like that gas, it's so cheap that like I could be drinking gas here and you can drink water.
Yeah, it's like the same. Oh wow. Yeah, I mean, I just hope the country opens up and can interact with other countries a little more civilly, you know, because from what our discussion was today, it just seems like the regime there, especially with this girl that died.
Yeah.
It's like an atrocity, first of all, but it really seems like it's just a government that's obsessed with kind of controlling a narrative and kind of pushing its way on not only, you know, people that are there already, but the younger generations that are growing up there. It's been a constant cycle. It's just been like a repetition, you know. So yeah, it's.
And it's like that, but also something else that before I forget, this is really important. I gotta say, I think a few days ago, 2 or 3 days ago, there have always been protests everywhere in Iran. And one place that has been protest was one of our university. This university is like the third best university in Iran and is top 600 something in the world.
Really?
Yeah, and this university is like...
It's in Tehran or?
In Tehran. You have to be a genius to be there. NASA and Google directly give them offers for the students to go work them after they finish graduate from this uni. That's how good this uni is. And
so it's almost like a brain drain type.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they are protesting and the police attacked them that night, you know? And everyone like was so worried. I remember my parents couldn't sleep. That was like really like shocking to us because like they were killing our, you know,
your best minds.
The best minds, and that's the worst thing you can do.
That's what hurts countries a lot, and I feel like the autocratic world, like in Iran and in Russia, they are suffering because of this. Like they are people are just leaving. Like they are just leaving these places because there's better opportunities in the West, whether it's in Western Europe or in the U.S. We have one of the best space programs in America. Like we're always looking for new people, so it's kind of good. Like we bring them in, but it's bad for you guys because, or not you guys, but the country itself, because you're losing these people that can actively contribute to a better economy. But I think we're nearing the end here. We're at 32, but I don't know if you want to say anything else. Like any final thoughts, like anything you want to say, or
I just want to say. Put your prayers for Iran. Like I have been losing a lot of sleep, me personally, because of this. This has been going like for 3 weeks. This protest and everything. I hope you can share awareness, and that's the best thing you can do to help.
Yeah.
Us.
Okay, guys. This was Arian. Dude, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. Stay tuned for episode 15. I'm not sure when it's coming out, but we'll see. And cheers. Thank you.